The tale begins in the Song dynasty. Deep within a bamboo forest, a man named Zhong Yan was fleeing with a newborn baby in his arms. Just as Zhong Yan was running for his life, an old friend appeared, carrying wine and offering help. Unfortunately, the reunion lasted about 3 seconds because their pursuers were already closing in behind them. And you were there too. No, not the two grown men. You, the crying potato of a baby. The two men quickly mounted a horse and rode off, chased relentlessly by the enemies who wanted two things. First, the pendant Zhong Yan had stolen, and second, Zhong Yan's head, preferably separated from his body. Before long, Zhong Yan's horse was taken down, leaving the two men cornered with nowhere to run. They now had to confront the Void King himself. Although Zhong Yan had been expelled from the Well of Heaven sect, he remained a true master. With just a few sword moves, he overpowered the Void King. But when the enemy was subdued, he suddenly lunged in a desperate final strike. Right at that critical moment, when lives hung by a thread, Zhong Yan froze, as if bewitched by some sinister spell. But then, your loud baby wailing snapped him back to reality. Reality, which was painfully cruel, because his friend had thrown himself into the path of that fatal blow, shielding Zhong Yan, and had fallen. A strange blue firefly-like creature flew out of the Void King, as if controlling him, returning to its mysterious master. And that master looked suspiciously like Sephiroth. Just kidding, let's continue. After that tragic day, Zhong Yan retreated to a remote village, raising you in hiding. Under his strict training, you learned martial arts and dreamed daily of wandering the land like a great hero. Time passed faster than a sword slash. You grew into a handsome young man, though this is hardly the right time to brag, because you were suddenly attacked by a man in black. Even with your impressive sword skills, you were no match for him. He tossed you around like he was playing a game. Then, noticing the valuable pendant you wore, he struck you away, stole it, and, strangely, didn't kill you. He simply tapped your pressure point, knocking you unconscious, and walked off. You had no idea how long you were out. When you finally woke up, a young girl was enthusiastically slapping your face. That was Ruby. She had arranged to go shopping with you, only to find you sleeping in the dirt, which, understandably, made her furious. You told Ruby to wait while you checked Zhong Yan's house. Inside, you found a letter. The writer said his disciple had been captured nearby while investigating a disaster soon to come, and he was asking for Zhong Yan's help. Strangely, the memorial tablet had been cleaned and incense was freshly burned. Could your Uncle Zhong have returned to attend the upcoming festival? You went back outside and continued the trip with Ruby to the general's shrine to shop. Along the way, you somehow learned archery. Then Tai Kai. From a bear. Yes, a bear. Don't question it. When you arrived, the traveling merchants had set up an arena with a prize for the winner. Ruby, who reached the place before you, had already paid the entry fee on your behalf. So now you had no choice, you had to win that prize for her. You stepped into the arena to face a disciple from the Well of Heaven sect, but he was far too weak. You defeated him in under 2 minutes. Once again, that strange blue firefly flew out of his eye and returned to its master. Could the pursuers from years ago still be lurking around you? After winning and going to claim your reward, you found Ruby being scammed into buying overpriced goods. Thankfully, you were smart enough to help her get the hero's book she wanted. In that book was the tale of the hero Yi Dao. Ruby, now only lacking a horse to complete her dream hero image, quickly ran off to watch the horse dancing performance. Dusk settled in, and it was time to head home. But the merchants had so many fascinating things that Ruby refused to leave. She decided to travel with the merchant leader, Guang, and asked you to tell her father. After swinging by Heaven's Pier to report to Ruby's father, you quickly hurry back to see Aunt Han. If you return late, she might really make you kneel in the corner again. Though everyone calls her Aunt Han, she's neither married nor old. In fact, she's strikingly beautiful. You tell her about the jade pendant being stolen, but she doesn't care about the pendant at all, only whether you are hurt. With the festival approaching, The tavern is packed with customers, yet you keep rambling on about wandering the Zhonghu until Aunt Han loses patience and kicks you out to serve drinks. While serving, you overhear all sorts of interesting gossip, especially about the villain Killer Blade. People claim he's been seen in this region, so everyone is on high alert. When you bring wine to a VIP room, you find a stunning young woman enjoying the scenery from the balcony. You're still thinking of what to say when she suddenly starts flirting with you first. Before you can even ask for her name, Aunt Han barges in, ruins the moment, and orders you to fetch more wine. What a shame, you still don't know who that girl was. When you reach the wine storeroom, you find smashed jars everywhere. The servant has no idea what happened because he snuck out earlier to play. Following the trail of broken shards, you realize a fight must have taken place. Venturing deeper inside, you discover several freshly killed bodies. One man is barely alive, and you try to carry him out. But before you can escape, a murderer drops from above and slashes at you. You use your family techniques to defend yourself, but facing such a seasoned killer, you eventually lose the upper hand. Fortunately, the moment he recognizes your martial style, he decides not to kill you. He bluntly states his purpose. He's here looking for Han Shangxun, and he wants you to lead the way. Knowing this man must be Killer Blade, and that he's after Aunt Han, you cleverly pretend your leg is injured so you can't walk. Killer Blade simply ties you up and throws you over his horse. After a while, you seize the moment when he's distracted and manage to escape, rushing back to warn Aunt Han. But inexplicably, at such an important moment, she's nowhere to be found. Dudu tells you that his master is the same, sometimes disappearing and reappearing like a ghost. He suspects something is going on between the two of them and suggests you search the second floor of the Evercare clinic. He's already lured his master outside, so you can investigate safely. Upstairs, you don't find Aunt Han. Instead, you find chests overflowing with money. It's hard to believe treating patients could earn this much. Following the clues, you jump down a dry well behind the clinic. It's dark inside, guarded by faceless figures. You uncover records involving stolen and swapped faces, and the handwriting looks very much like Aunt Han's. Could this be the clinic's true business? Cosmetic surgery? You sneak into another room filled with gold and jewelry, along with martial arts manuals from various sects. Being a martial arts enthusiast, you quickly begin practicing the techniques. But after a short while, dizziness strikes and your inner energy turns chaotic. Are you suffering from chi deviation? You faint. When you regain consciousness, you find yourself somewhere else entirely. A girl approaches you. Her voice sounds like Aunt Han's, yet her face is the same as the crush you met yesterday. She attacks without warning, forcing you to fight back even if she looks familiar. Suddenly, you wake up again. Huh? Was the whole thing just a heart demon triggered by practicing those techniques? Stepping out of that strange chamber, you run into Dudu again. He's completely shaken after seeing everything down here, and even more stunned when he realizes he isn't actually an orphan. He has parents. He even has a brother. Back in Aunt Han's room, you find several intriguing items, including hints about the man she holds dear. From the looks of it, you might call him Uncle Chu. That's when Killer Blade appears. He pretended to let you go earlier, so you would lead him here. A true martial world veteran, always 2 steps ahead. And he isn't the only one who shows up. A whole group of assassins suddenly storms in to capture Aunt Han, and, while at it, decides to grab you too as well. You and Killer Blade fight side by side, blending blades perfectly, cutting down the assassins. Once again, you use the old trick of leave a bug alive and let it crawl home. And what do you know? Those assassins all gather at a ruined temple. Killer Blade reveals that Aunt Han stole the secrets of many people, so they want her dead. The two of you decide to infiltrate the temple, but you, being you, use him as bait. Inside the temple, you discover Ruby and Merchant Guang tied up. After rescuing them, you confront the horse dancer. He's in some kind of deranged trance, controlling his horse to attack you. Just when you think you've won, the horse snaps back to life and charges madly. Luckily, Aunt Han arrives just in time and kills it with a flying dagger. She rushes outside to help Killer Blade. Turns out those two aren't enemies after all. Great, so you worried for nothing. Back home, Aunt Han scolds you relentlessly for being reckless and forces you to copy punishment lines and reflect on your behavior. The moment she leaves, you spot Ruby peeking through the window. Perfect. You immediately convince her to copy the punishment for you, promising to take her to meet Killer Blade. Naturally, who would turn down the chance to meet a hero? You head to Aunt Han's room and find her speaking with Killer Blade, whose real name is Yi Dao. It turns out they've known each other for a long time. Yi Dao came here on the orders of Chu Qingquan, seeking the secret Zhong Yan carried, but Aunt Han refuses to reveal anything. Killer Blade tells her that Chu Qingquan is gone. Hearing this leaves Aunt Han devastated and furious. She dumps all her precious aged wine into the lake, declaring this place compromised and the enemy likely to arrive soon. She orders you to pack your things. You're leaving tomorrow morning. But if you obediently follow her, you may never see the true Zhong Hu. So you decide you'll slip away tonight. Still unsure, you ask Ruby's opinion. Obviously, she chooses adventure over listening to her parents. However, if she gets caught, she'll blame you for dragging her along. Truly a loyal friend. You take Ruby to meet Killer Blade and tell him you want to join him in searching for Uncle Zhong. He agrees and sets a meeting for tonight. Before leaving, he gifts Ruby a horse. You and Ruby ride home. On the way, you tell her you'll be leaving, and she must stay behind to lead everyone. You give her a scarlet cape and promise that someday, the two of you will become twin wanderers of the world. You meet Dudu again. He's about to board a ship. Now that he remembers so much of his past, he wants to look for his hometown. Your task now is to pack. Over the years, you've hidden your treasured belongings and the best wine beneath a tower. You retrieve them, then return to your room to write a farewell letter to Aunt Han, hoping she won't stay angry. At the meeting place, you find Yi Dao drinking. The two of you talk about Chu Qingquan. He once fought Yi Dao, but he also saved him. The two men became friends. In his final moments, Chu entrusted Yi Dao with a mission. Go to Aunt Han and retrieve the secret Zhong Yan left behind. And that's why Yi Dao is entangled in all of this. While taking one last look at the land where you grew up, you suddenly notice from afar a group of assassins arriving by boat and attacking the village. You immediately try to return to protect everyone, but Yi Dao disagrees. He stops you because it seems he already knows for whom Zhong Yan and Aunt Han are doing all of this. The two of you clash, and after fighting for a while, Yi Dao finally gives in to your stubborn determination and has no choice but to lead you back to save the villagers. After rescuing Ruby and several others, everyone gathers at the central tower, the only place where the fire has not reached. They cannot escape because someone has turned the area into a maze formation. No matter how experienced Yi Dao is, he is only skilled in combat. He does not know how to break such formations. If someone could reach the rocky mountain ridge and guide them from above, everyone would be able to determine a direction and escape. Upon hearing that, Ruby's heroic spirit awakens. She volunteers to take the underground tunnel to circle around to the mountain ridge and guide everyone. Of course you refuse, and you tie Ruby's hands and entrust her to Merchant Guang to watch over. You, Yi Dao, and the others defend the outside of the tower from wave after wave of assassins. After a long period of holding out against their ferocious attacks, you glance toward the mountain ridge and see something fluttering in the wind, a red cape. You freeze, thinking, could it be? You immediately rush inside the tower to find Ruby, but she is no longer there. Regret hits you like a blade because you forgot to tie her legs. Ruby has now run off and put herself in danger. At that moment, the assassins also notice Ruby and begin firing arrows at the mountain. Although Ruby's horse uses its own body to block many arrows for her, she cannot escape the arrow loosed by Qianye the witch. Driven mad with rage, you charge into the assassins and slaughter them alongside Yi Dao. The witch appears, and you recognize her as someone who once drank at the tavern. Consumed by hatred, you strike her with such force that the ground collapses beneath you both, sending you falling below. When you awaken, you and Yi Dao join forces again to fight her. But she is not only skilled in martial arts, she also wields dark sorcery and drags you into an illusion. After overcoming the illusion, you awaken once more and continue battling beside Yi Dao. But by now the assassins have gathered in overwhelming numbers, and the situation is becoming hopeless. The two of you drink wine and fight back to back like true comrades. In that moment, even if you were to die there, you feel you would have no regrets. But during the fight, Yi Dao knocks you out of the room with a satisfied, peaceful expression. Then he throws a fire lantern toward the jars of wine you've secretly stored for years. A series of massive explosions erupts inside. From the outside, you can only watch in shock, pain, and helplessness. Days later, while you are visiting Yi Dao's grave, the horse he gave to Ruby appears beside you. Miraculously, it survived the rain of arrows that day. You feel an overwhelming sense of relief because your last bonds with Yi Dao and Ruby are still alive. And now, you will not have to walk into the Zhonghu alone. Chapter 1 ends here, and of course we're left with many questions waiting to be answered. Returning to the very beginning of the game, when Zhong Yan was being hunted, his pursuers said that he killed his own father and stole the jade. This tells us their objective was to retrieve the jade, not to kill the protagonist, you. So why did Zhong Yan bring you along in his escape, even though you are not necessarily his biological son? The logical explanation is that the jade shard is connected to you, which is why you've been wearing it since childhood. And usually, such a jade symbolizes identity. This strongly suggests that the protagonist is not an ordinary commoner. Supporting this theory, during Zhong Yan's battle, there was a moment where he froze as memories surfaced. If you look closely, images of the imperial court and the emperor appear, but mixed in are faint images of Ruby, Yi Dao, and a young man wearing a jade pendant. This gives the impression that the flashback is mingled with a flash forward. It feels as if the owner of the blue firefly used sorcery to peer into both the past and future connected to Zhong Yan. As for the owner of the blue firefly, aside from giving off a villainous aura reminiscent of Sephiroth, Chapter 1 reveals very little about him. But one scene shows the blue firefly appearing when the protagonist is already grown, meaning this mysterious figure has been silently watching you your whole life. Now about the man in black, the one who steals your jade pendant. Why did he not harm you, and only take the jade? Naturally, you would suspect he might be someone familiar, and indeed, comparing the eyes, nose, and facial scars, his identity matches Zhong Yan almost perfectly. So why would Zhong Yan take your jade? My personal theory is, Zhong Yan knows you are about to step into the Zhonghu, and carrying the jade would expose your identity and draw disaster. Stealing it is his way of protecting you. Next, some players might not know who the Water Lady is. She is Aunt Han, real name Han Shangxun. Those who visited Blissful Retreat would know her as the beautiful tavern owner, Madame Han. But behind the scenes, she secretly collaborates with the owner of Evercare Clinic, engaging in covert operations involving face alteration and amassing an enormous underground fund. With abilities like these, Aunt Han must have stolen countless secrets from numerous factions, including the martial arts manual containing techniques from various sects that you accidentally found. Naturally, the Water Lady becomes an enemy to many organizations, leading to the Blissful Retreat massacre. Why did the horse dancer attack you? Back at the General's Shrine, the blue firefly flew toward a certain person. Comparing the clothes and the drum, that person was clearly the horse dancer. However, when facing you, the horse dancer acted as if he had lost his mind. So it's likely he was also a victim, his mind manipulated by someone. After you defeated him, Merchant Guang revealed that he had met the horse dancer at the Western Post Station. Both his horse and a beautiful woman with him had a glowing powder beneath their feet. The woman was so stunning that you would immediately recognize her if you saw her. So in Chapter 1, there is only one person this is pointing to, Qianye. This is the hint that tells us she is extremely dangerous, and her purpose for coming here. Kianye, the witch of the Aria Pavilion, was dispatched to wipe out everything connected to Aunt Han. She cast the maze formation to prevent anyone from escaping. But Ruby sacrificed herself heroically to help many villagers flee. After Yi Dao triggered the explosion, he appears to have died. The scene of you visiting his grave supports this. Who pulled you out of the explosion? Judging from the sleeve, it is likely Aunt Han, meaning she is still alive. As for Kianye, her fate remains unanswered. She may return in the future. Then there's Chu Qingquan, a name mentioned often since Yi Dao the Killer Blade appeared. In short, he was the man Aunt Han loved, and also the one who once saved Yi Dao. Before he died in battle, he asked Yi Dao to meet Aunt Han and obtain Zhong Yan's secret. There are still many mysteries left unresolved. For example, what exactly is the dream puppet Calamity? What is Zhong Yan's true identity? Who was Zhong Yan's father? Who is the real master of Evercare Clinic? What is the full story of Aunt Han's romance? What happened 16 years ago? What legacy did Ruby leave behind? And many more. All of these will gradually be revealed in future videos. If you're interested in the story and lore of Where Winds Meet, make sure to subscribe for more.